the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals Wednesday, November 8th, 2023 meeting to order. First portion of business is to call the roll.
Bruce Forster,
Here.
Craig Burrow,
Here.
Mike Pratt is not present, Rex Meyer.
Here. Okay. We're going to be working on old business. It's a continuation of our meeting with petition number 23-16, petitioner Wiggins Solar, permanent parcel number 18-08-11-400-014. Petitioner desires a special use for 2 megawatt ground mounted solar energy system in South Dixon Township. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to our facilitator, Tim Zollinger.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to all that are present and are online. This is the continuation of the public hearing and process for the petition 23P1616. We have concluded in the last hearing, we did conclude the evidentiary part from both the applicant and the county, as well as any questions may have arisen from the members of the zoning board. But before we begin the next phase, I'm going to turn back to the zoning officer tonight and ask if he has any requests to make for reopening that evidence.
I do.
If you would please proceed.
Yes. Following the last time this board met, it was determined that the project is within 1.5 miles of the city of Dixon. They were then given notice and considered the matter on Monday, November 6th. And as a result of that consideration, they have no objections.
And they advise you of no objection in writing.
Correct. I have an email.
And you're offering that as zoning officer exhibit 12, is that correct?
Yes.
Right. Any objection from the applicant to reopen, or petitioner to reopen the evidence, offer that? So the record wrote no objection from the petitioner on that. Members of the zoning board have any questions or objections based on that request? So the record will show that zoning official 12 would be admitted into evidence without objection. Is there anything else to discuss from an evidentiary standpoint from the zoning office?
Nothing further.
And based on that, any additional evidence or argument from the petitioner? All right, so the record will show that. We've now concluded the evidentiary portion of the hearing. The next phase is consideration by the members of the zoning board of the factual findings that would be reviewed pursuant to the county's ordinance. So at this time, we'll go through that process. As the members of the zoning board know, the determination of whether a fact or conclusion has been proven by the petitioner to meet their eligibility for a special use for a solar energy system. The zoning board must make those findings of fact by motion and determination after your review of the evidence was presented at public hearing. The evidence presented at public hearing comes in through testimony of witnesses, comes in through the exhibits that were admitted, your review of both the evidence and the testimony and the exhibits, and then your conclusions you're going to make as we proceed through this process, and you being members of the zoning board. Based on the nature of this matter, the burden, if you will, is by a preponderance of the evidence, more probably true than not. So as you consider the witness testimony you heard and the exhibits, as you move through this, as we move through this, that's the standard in the categories of all the necessary findings that you will consider. It is for the zoning board to determine whether each respective category of finding has been proven. And we're going to go through those, as numbered, if you will, as presented. Any questions for the members of the zoning board?
None here.
And I know you've had hearings before, so this isn't anything new for any of you. Any questions from the petitioner based on that? All right, thank you. So at this time, the members, I turn it to an interactive conversation between me and the zoning board as to what findings you want to make. Ordinance outlines the requirements, and I'm not going to go through each piece of the ordinance in preparation for your findings because it's a public ordinance. You've all read it. But I would ask whether the members of the zoning board have any questions first, and if not, then we'll proceed. So any questions?
No.
So to assist you, the members of the zoning board, I did break down the categories of findings that you might consider. I presented those to you in the form of draft motions. Whether you move to approve or to reject is up to you. It is your determination as members of the zoning board. But if you want to start, we can start with number one.
I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein find as follows. On July 13, 2023, Wiggins Solar LLC, hereinafter Wiggins applicant petitioner, filed a petition with the Lee County, Illinois Zoning and Planning Administration Office requesting a special use permit for a 2 megawatt solar energy system. The petition was given a petition number 23-P-1616. The petition was accompanied by supporting documentation. The petition sought placement of a solar energy system on parcel number 18-08-11-400-014, property owned by the Wiggins Family Trust. The applicant is wholly owned subsidiary of the Summit Ridge Energy.
All right, a motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion by the members of the zoning board. All right, hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Any objections or nays? Hearing none, the motion for number one passes unanimously. Any further motions?
Mr. Facilitator, I move the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein finds as following. Proper notice of the filing of the petition and of initial ZBA hearing was published in the Dixon Telegraph on August 11th, 2023. Further notice of the petition and all ZBA agendas were posted by the Lee County Planning and Zoning Administrator at a conspicuous place in the old Lee County Courthouse, giving the public notice of the hearing date and all continuances thereof.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Facilitator, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein find as follows. The petition was granted a public hearing on October 25th, 2023. After the hearing was called to order at 7 p.m. by ZBA Chairman Bruce Forster, the ZBA appointed Timothy B. Zollinger, attorney, as the hearing's facilitator. The public hearing was open and available to the public, including those in person at the old Lee County Courthouse main courtroom and online via the YouTube channel.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Further motions?
Mr. Facilitator, I move the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein finds as follows. The hearing facilitator began the hearing and outlined the process to be followed for the consideration of the petition. No objections were made by the applicant to the process to be followed. The hearing was open to the public and streamed online through the YouTube platform. 2 interested observers attended in person, with 1 person present on the online platform.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Facilitator, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein find as follows. All county officials and any person present who requested was given a complete and opportunity to be heard and present evidence, examine witnesses, or cross-examination if requested, and present opening and closing remarks.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Facilitator, I move on point 6 that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein finds as follows. 3 witnesses were placed under oath and offered testimony. The witnesses, in order in which they presented, included Dee Duffy, Lee County Zoning and Planning Administrator, Brett Bookberger, Summit Ridge Energy, Kyle Hawkinson, Summit Ridge Energy. The testimony offered by each witness is fairly and accurately reflected in the transcript of the proceedings taken by the court reporter at the public hearing.
Second.
Second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Further
Mis-
motions?
Mr. Facilitator, I move that the Lee County Board of Appeals herein find as follows. The Lee County zoning officer offered without objection the following exhibits. ZO number 1, copy of file stamp petition. ZO number 2, copy of community meeting notice sent by regular first class mail to the Lee County Board, zoning administrator, the South Dixon Township Board, and all persons who own real estate within a minimum of 1,000 feet of the proposed solar project boundary. ZO number 3, copy of the first newspaper notification dated July 18, 2023, with incorrect date. ZO number 4, copy of the notice newspaper's publication and a copy of the newspaper certificate of publication. ZO number 5, copy of the notice sent by certified mail to property owners adjacent to the boundary of the proposed development. ZO number 6, copies of return certified mail receipts of the property owners adjacent to the boundary of the proposed development. ZO number 7, copies of the notice sent to the District 1 County Board members, Lee County Health Department, Lee County Engineer and Highway Supervisor, Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District Office, South Dixon Township Supervisor, South Dixon Township Highway Commissioner. ZO number 8, copy of notices was posted on the proposed project on July 20th, 2023, zoning hearing agenda, notice petition displayed on the bulletin board on the floor of the old county courthouse on July 31st, 2023, posted the zoning hearing agenda on July 31st, 2023, agenda center of the Lee County website. ZO number 9, copy of the Soil and Water Conservation District's report for the ground upon which the proposed development would lay. This report was prepared in 2018 when the petitioner previously requested a special use application. ZO number 10, copy of the AMA Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement. ZO number 11, copy of the petitioner's supplemental materials with site plans. And I'm going to add in ZO number 12.
If you, I believe it's listed if you keep. It's at the end of that.
Okay.
You just keep going.
Okay. Petitioner offered without objection the following exhibits. Petitioner's number 1, digital copy of the petitioner presentation. Petitioner's number 2, physical copy of the petitioner presentation. Petitioner's number 3, additional equipment specifications for the project. Petitioner's number 4, engineer drawings, site layout. The zoning officer supplemented the official recording record of proceedings at a public hearing on November 8th. At the time the record was supplemented, ZO number 12 was offered into evidence admitted.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Facilitator, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein finds as follows. The petitioner and the zoning officer were given the opportunity to make closing statements or public comments regarding the project, the evidence presented, and all matters relating to the proceeding. That Larry and Kim Hummel, a property owner adjacent to the proposed site, was offered the opportunity to speak and offer comments in favor of the proposed project. No one submitted any written opposition or appeared at the hearing to offer comment in opposition to the proposed project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Facilitator, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein find as follows. The project outlined in this petition was previously approved by the Lee County Board in 2018. 2018-P-1524. But as no construction was undertaken within 1 year, therefore approval lapsed and the petitioner was given notice of the same.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Further motions?
Mr. Facilitator, I move that Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein finds as follows. A, purpose. The project is construction of a 2-megawatt AC system providing energy to service approximately 350 homes on TRP 48. It will sit on approximately 20 acres of a larger 160-acre property south of I-88, east of Burkett Road, west of Red Brick Road, and north of Route 52. The developer, Summit Ridge Energy, intends to be the developer of the project, construct it, operate it, and maintain it under the umbrella of Wiggins Solar LLC, that is parentheses TR31. Point B, useful life. The anticipated lifespan of the type of panels used in construction is to be 35 to 40 years. Point C, components. The specifications to be used in the project were explained by the petitioner's witnesses and reflected in petitioner's exhibit number 3. The petitioner testified that part of the requirement of an interconnection agreement with ComEd is the petitioner will pay for grid infrastructure improvements of the 3-phase circuit on Burkett Road. Point D, access road and fencing. An existing farm lane will be the access road to the project. Based on the testimony of the petitioner representative, the fencing surrounding the project will be 7 feet in height and be agricultural game fencing that will allow small life to enter and exit the project site unabated. E, background findings. That based on the testimony of the petitioner and the documents submitted with the application, there were no protected lands identified by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. No adverse findings were issued by the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office. No adverse findings were issued by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Further motions?
Mr. Facilitator, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein find as follows. Based on the filing date of the petition, Lee County Ordinance number 2023-05-003 is the applicable solar energy system ordinance. The ZBA further finds the petitioner acknowledge and accept such applicability.
Is there a
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Facilitator, I move on point 12 that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein finds as follows. Point A, petitioner will, at the time of application for building permit, have a structural engineer certify that the commercial solar energy facility is within accepted professional standards and compliant with all county code requirements. B, petitioner testified the project will comply with all fencing, setback, warning notice, outdoor storage, and noise level requirements. No evidence to the contrary was introduced. C, petitioner testified and consented to provision of as-built plans to the Lee County Zoning Administrator within 60 days of completion of construction and to provide to local emergency responders a copy of the site plan and standard operating procedures, including but not limited to an emergency response plan. D, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the proposed project, the commercial solar energy facility, will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. E, the project, the commercial solar energy facility, will not be injurious to the uses, enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted or substantially diminish and impair property values of surrounding properties. F, that the establishment of the commercial solar energy facility will impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties. G, that adequate public utilities, access roads, drainage, and/or necessary facilities have been or will be provided. H, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so signed to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. I, that the proposed project, the commercial solar energy facility, is not contrary to the objectives of the comprehensive plan of the county. J, that the proposed project, the commercial solar energy facility, in all other aspects / respects conforms to the applicable regulations of the SCS ordinance and zoning district in which it is to be located.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Further motions?
Your Honor, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals herein finds as follows. A, it is necessary to impose conditions, guarantees, and restrictions in addition to those imposed by the SES ordinance for the protection of the public interest and to secure compliance with the standards of the ordinance. Namely, number one, petitioner maintains appropriate approved decommission obligations within the land lease agreement and maintain compliance with the AMA and all county requirements. Number two, the petitioner provides evidence of appropriate financial security with the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office prior to issuance of a building permit. All such financial security should be updated at a minimum every 5 years. Number three, that the petitioner maintains a telephone or web-based portal permitting members of the public to notify the petitioner of any issues and seek resolution. The petitioner shall maintain a log of such contacts and provide a copy of the same to the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office upon a reasonable request.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Further motions?
Mr. Facilitator, on point 14, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals, after reflecting on all the exhibits and testimony of the witnesses, herein find as follows. The Wiggins Solar LLC's petition for special use be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Further motions?
Your Honor, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals recommend that if the Lee County Board adopts ordinance granting the petition, the petitioner be reminded in writing of the following requirements. A, road use agreement. Before any building permit is issued, the petitioner must enter a road use agreement satisfactory to the county engineer addressing construction activity not less than 30 days to issuance. B, interconnection agreement. Before any building permit is issued, a copy of the signed interconnection agreement with Commonwealth Edison must be provided to the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office. C, permitted construction times. That is a condition of receiving a building permit. Construction activity shall commence no earlier than 7 a.m. and shall be discontinued no later than 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, absent a written waiver of any affected non-participating resident. Oh. D, drain tile survey. Before any building permit is issued, the petitioner must undertake a drain tile survey and submit the results to the Lee County Zoning Planning Office. E, drain tile repairs. Before any building permit is issued, petitioner, if the submitted drain tile survey reflects the presence of existing drain tiles in the area of construction, must provide confirmation that any drainage tile damage will be repaired to the same or better condition within 30 days of damage. F, weed grass control plan. Before a building permit is issued, the petitioner is to provide the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office with written landscape inclusive of weed grass control which outlines when implementation will occur. G, screening. Before any building permit is issued, petitioner must provide the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office with evidence that it has contacted the owner of any adjacent but non-participating dwelling to outline the ordinance-driven screening options and either reached a memorandum of understanding with those owners for a screen or have established a requisite payment.
For a second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Further motions?
Mr. Facilitator, I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals close the public hearing in consideration of the petition by Wigan Solar, and having closed the hearings, authorize the chairman to prepare a report and recommendations reflecting the findings of the ZBA.
For a
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so those are your findings of fact based on the consideration of the exhibits and the testimony. Questions from the members of the zoning board? Questions from the zoning office? Questions from the petitioner? Okay. Yes, it'll be easier to hear you.
With respect to the condition to enter a road use agreement, that I believe the language specifically references the county engineer. Curious if the language or a question I have is whether or not the language should be modified to reference the county engineer or the appropriate township highway supervisor.
Let's go back and we will refer to the ordinance. The language used in the county's ordinance, which is page 21, subsection 9 for use of public roads, makes reference at various points to the county engineer.
Mr. Facilitator,
Yes.
based on our previous experiences, I understand where Mr. Bruckberger questions are arising, and my experience probably has been that the county engineer deals with the township officials anyway. He handles all that because the township officials usually refer to the county engineer for any answers on how they want things constructed.
Did you hear the response?
Yes, and part of the reason for my question is if there are no county jurisdictional roads, if it's simply state and township jurisdictional, in my experience, the county engineer has deferred to the township. So I just want clarification on the approval by the county engineer.
Well, I'm not the county's attorney, but I would suspect that if the county engineer was presented with evidence that the state had approved, then that would satisfy the county engineer, but I won't speak for them.
Typically, the county engineer will defer to the township road
Right.
supervisors.
So does that answer your question?
Yes, I think during the building permitting process, we can see further clarification for the project. But just was the question today, just whether or not the condition or recommendation should be modified. But I think that I understand the guidance provided this evening.
I believe that this Board of Appeals will be following the guidelines of the county's ordinance, which refers to the county engineer. If the county engineer is satisfied with the recommendation of the state, then that would meet the requirements. But this board would deal with the county. Any further questions? Okay. we have any further business relating to this petition from the member of the zoning board? All right,
No.
so having adopted a motion authorizing the chairman to prepare a report and recommendation, does the chairman have a report and finding the fact and recommendation that for him? Is there any questions on the chairman's draft report from the members of the zoning board? So that, unless there's any questions, that report then will be signed and approved by the chairman, submitted to the county. From the zoning office, when will this then proceed to the county board?
This petition will go to the county board on November 21st at 6 PM.
Any further questions based on that? If not, there's a motion number 17, I believe.
I move that the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is adjourned. Our hearing is adjourned. Gentlemen,